So hello all, welcome to Star Academy and we are discussing this chapter 7. तो chapter 7 में हमने अभी तक part 1 कर लिया है and this is the part 2 of this chapter, right? So we have divided this chapter into two parts. Part 1 has already been covered. और part 1 में हमने क्या क्या किया था? That we talked about the environment, right? What is the state of environment of India, right? At this point of the time. और वी हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड कि जैसे जैसे इकोनॉमी बढ़ती है, राइट, एज वी गो वी अचीव बेटर इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ, द कंडीशन ऑफ द इन्वायरमेंट, द लेवल ऑफ इन्वायरमेंट गेट degraded, right? So we saw how the level of environment has got degraded in India. Okay, land degradation is a major challenge, right? Air pollution, water pollution, and different other soil pollution also we also discussed, right? So we saw many of the challenges that are being faced in India because of economic growth, right? So environment is a casualty here, right? Right. So we discussed about environment in first part, and we left the sustainable development, right? And this in this part second, अब हम sustainable development को cover करेंगे, right? Okay. So moving to the chapter, right? We also saw what is the challenges of this industrialization. We are facing the problems of global warming, climate change, and other issue because of this in man-made pollutions that we are doing, right, after the industrialization. So this is what is the problem, and this is what we have already done, and now we will be starting our chapter, this chapter, part second of the chapter, right? So what this sustainable development is, we have already covered, right? And we will be discussing slowly the definitions, different type of definitions. But one thing is for sure, that environment and economy, right? Environment as well as the economy are independent, are interdependent, right? So environment, so economy can grow to a level, to an extent, by degrading the environment, yes. But if we are able, if the environment gets degraded beyond a certain limit, then this will be a problem to the economy itself, right? So economy can't grow without the environment being clean, right? And environment cannot be clean beyond if the economy is not there, right? So certain level of problems will exist, right? So environment और economy interdependent है, right? So we should be focusing on environment as well, right? तो हमें कभी भी economic growth को, we want to achieve higher economic growth, but we can't ignore the environment, right? And that is the concept of sustainable development, that we should be developing ourselves, we should be growing, right? We should be achieving a level of economic growth, but we should not be putting the environment to its casualty, right? Okay, so sustainable development is development that will allow all future generations to have a potential average quality of life, right? Average quality of life, and that is at least as half as that which is being enjoyed by the current generation, right? So whatever the current generation, that the level, the quality of the life that is being enjoyed by the current level, the future generation should be able to have that type of quality, the same level of, at least the same level of quality, not if not greater than, at least same level, at least the same level, right? It should not go beyond, miss, in the negative direction, right? So this is what the sustainable development is. But this sustainable developments, and what is the sustainable development, this thing, right? This definition has been given by different type of agencies, right? So slowly we will discuss what every agency has said, right? And first and foremost is UNCED, right? United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. This conference has happened, and what it said, it says that a development that meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs, right? So if the needs of the this generation is met, and future generations needs should not be hampered, right? This type of development is called as sustainable development, right? So you should focus, the definition focuses on the word needs, right? So there is a difference, there has been and there will always be a difference between the needs versus greeds, needs and greeds, right? So you should be able to remember Mahatma Gandhi's quote, like there is enough for everyone's need on this earth, but not anyone's greed, right? So you should be categorizing or differentiating between the needs and greeds, right? So the same is the concept of sustainable development, right? So everyone's need of the present generation should get fulfilled, as well as future generations needs should not be compromised. This type of development is social sustainable development, I'm sorry, right? So this was the definition that was given by UNCED. Now, another report was also presented in the UN, which was this report's name was Our Common Future, right? Our Common Future also focuses on the needs, right? It also focuses on the concept of needs. And this Our Common Future says meeting the basic needs of all and extending to all the opportunities to satisfy their aspirations for a better life, right? So this this definition in essence doesn't focus on future, right? Future generation के बारे में, this definition is not about future generation, it is about the present generation only, right? But this definition talks about the inequality, right? Inequality, how? Like everyone should be able to enjoy a better quality of life, right? And everyone should be able to fulfill the opportunities that are available to them, right? So aspirations of all the people, all the level of the present people should be fulfilled. This is what is called as sustainable development, right? So in effect, this definition talks about reducing the inequality, right? Okay, so how this needs will be fulfilled, right? So UN this RQ common future says by redistribution. So how this redistribution will be carried out, right? That whatever the things that I told you, right? Inequality should not be there, right? So if we are able to distribute our resources, whatever the resources that we have, national resources, among the poor, right, and raise their level of living, so everyone will be having or benefiting from the economic growth, right? And now you will be able to gain the concept of surcharges, right? Surcharges, right? Cess. What the government puts surcharges and cess on the incomes of highly rich people, right? So what actually government is doing? Government is taxing more to the rich, right? And redistributes this to the poor. And this is the concept that has come from the sustainable development only, right? So this was the definition that was focused upon by Our Common Future. Now one of the important person was also there, Edward Barbier. What he said about sustainable development is that enhancing the living standards of the poor. So according to him, the sustainable development is to the value of the sustainable development, the meaning of sustainable development is to enhance the living standard of the poor, right? In effect, it is also to reduce the inequalities, right? Now another committee was formed by the UN, and this was called as Berlin Committee. And this committee said about sustainable development, it was focusing on the ethical duty of the for the next generation. So according to this committee, everyone should be able to fulfill its own needs, right? Own needs, but it should not compromise the ability to grow for the future generation, right? The future generation's ability to grow should not be hampered, right? So this was the sustainable developments definition that was provided by the Berlin Commission, right? Sustainable developments aims at decreasing the absolute poverty, right? Absolute poverty was being focused, right, of the poor by providing lasting and secure livelihoods that minimize the resource depletion, environmental degradation, and cultural disruption and social instability, right? So you must have seen that this person was this person in its definition was focusing on redistribution as well as reducing the environment degradation, right? So this was all about the definitions of sustainable development. Now you must be having an idea that we should not be doing our development, we should not be growing, we should not be achieving that level of growth which should be problematic for its present as well as future generations, right? So we should be mindful of this fact, right? Now this definition we have seen, okay? So does this mean that we should not be achieving the economic growth? Because in effect, if we are going to grow, right, if we are going to for economic growth, the environment will get degraded, that is for sure, right? So how to achieve a balance between the economic growth and the environmental justice, right? So this is the approach, right? So how this thing will be able to we will be able to achieve is by conservation of natural assets, right? So whatever the natural assets that we have, right, the mountainous regions, the streams, rivers, the soil, air, right? So whatever the natural assets we have, we should be able to conserve them, right? We should not be polluting them to that extent that we are not able to recover them to its pristine nature, right? The second things that can be done is to preserve the regeneration capacity of all those natural assets, right? So that those natural assets should be able to recover themselves, right? So we already know that a river itself has the ability to reduce its own pollution, right? It can clean itself, right? So it has that ability, and this ability should not be degraded, right? The third thing that we can follow is reduce the risk to the future. The future generation should the risk to the future generation should be reduced, right? We should not be putting the future generation into a jeopardy, right? So this was these were the three methods that we can achieve. But what are the different steps that we can take, right? So in order to achieve the sustainable development, we have to limit the population. First and foremost is to limit the population so that the resources can be adequately utilized, right? We should not be exploiting the resources but using them, right? Efficient technology should be used so that the efficient use of the resources, right? Efficient use of the resources can be done. Are you getting it? So if we are able to improve the technology, then the efficiency of resource use will improve, right? Sustainable extraction of the minerals should be focused, right? So every mineral that we are extracting, the mining that we are doing, right? The mining that we are doing, so mining should be done so that the extraction of resources is sustainable, right? We should be focusing on the carrying capacity of the environment, right? So we should be using the resources to an extent that it can be recovered, right? Reduce the pollution, right? We should be able to reduce the pollution so that we should not be living in the polluted environment, right? So if the pollution will increase, then this will affect the future as well as present generation, right? So these are the some of the steps that we can take in order to achieve the sustainable development. And in 2015, the United Nations also formed the sustainable development goals, right? And these goals needs to be achieved by 2030, right? And what are these goals? You should be able to search them on internet, surf on internet, and see what are the different type of goals, right? So these are related to reduction of the poverty, right? Poverty reduction, right? Reduction of hunger reduction, right? Health, education, education to all, right? So these are the things through which the sustainable development can be achieved. In fact, these all goals are for the reducing the inequality in the society, right? So this was the method through which sustainable development can be achieved, right? Now, what are the different type of strategies that we can we can take for sustainable development, right? And the first and foremost thing is about energy, right? So as we all know, the power sources that we use, right, energy that we have, we generate most of the pollution from the energy generation only, right? If we see the electricity that we produce, it is predominantly the thermal power electricity, right? It is produced either from the coal or oil, ठीक है? तो oil या coal के burn करने से ही we get the electricity. So we should be focusing on the energy resources in order to achieve the sustainable development, because this energy that we are utilizing from the coal, it is polluting the air as well as water, ठीक है? As well as water pollution. So this is the problem, that the challenge that we are gaining because of this energy. So at this point of the time, we are focusing on thermal energy, and in the thermal energy is environmentally polluting. Fly ash is generated from the coal burning of the coal, and this fly ash is harmful for the soil as well as for the humans, right? And it also increases the climate change risk or global warming potential, right? global warming potential because of the thermal power that we use. So, and there are some issues with respect to the hydroelectric, or you can consider it with respect to the dam, right? So the dam that we use, that we have for electricity generation, they interfere with the reverse course, right? So that the river is not able to flow in its own state, right? And they inundate the forest area. Wherever the rivers are, sorry, dams are formed, a large area is inundated in the water. So the forest, the soil, the land that can be utilized for any other purpose is inundated in the water. So hydroelectric and thermal power has some of the challenges, right? But what we can go for is the non-conventional or renewable sources of energy for achieving the sustainable development. And how can it be done? In the rural areas, we can concentrate on subsidized LPGs, right? So this subsidized LPG is always already being provided under the PEHEL scheme, right? Under the PEHEL scheme, to every poor, right? Every poor person, this every poor family, sorry, this subsidized LPG is being provided. And gobar gas can also be used. It is the gas which is produced by the waste or the cow dung that is available in the rural areas, right? So from this gobar gas, we can drive the energy, as well as it can be utilized as fertilizer, right? Whatever the leftover is left, right? This leftover can be utilized in the field as a fertilizer, right? So we can achieve the sustainable development, right, through this gobar gas also in the rural areas. But what we can do in urban areas? In urban area, instead of petrol and diesel, right, those petrol and diesel that we are using in our vehicles is mostly polluting sources. So we can shift towards the CNG, right? And at this point of the time, right, during these years, a government is focusing on ethanol, ठीक? Ethanol, by mixing it with the petrol. This is less polluting. And also electric vehicles, right? Electric vehicles is another source which will not be generating the pollution, right? They will not be doing the air pollution. That is what that is these are the simple steps that are being taken in order to achieve the sustainable development. Uh, okay. Okay. Wind power is another source which can be utilized as an energy source in order to achieve the sustainable development, right? So wind can be utilized. Windmills is environment friendly, right? Another important sustainable source of energy is solar power, right? We can convert the sun's energy, sun rays, into the electricity, and that electricity can be utilized in the areas, in the rural areas, right? And this is another benefit, right? Another benefit is also there. Another benefit is also there, that solar energy can be utilized in that area where far flung area, right? Far flung area in which we are not able to provide electricity, right? So we can set up a solar power plant there, a small solar power plant, and this plant can supply the electricity to the nearby areas, right? So this is the effect, right? In the solar area only, we have already started international solar alliance, which has its headquarter in Delhi only, right? So this is also an important thing, right, in the solar area. Okay, another thing is mini hydel plants can also be started, which can give the which can be a sustainable solution, right? So because most of our rivers are Himalayan rivers, right? Those are perennial in their nature, right? So water is available throughout the year, right? So there are benefits of these small power plants, small hydroelectric power plants. The land use is not changed in that area, right? Because they are small in nature. The land is not submerged in the water. They can they can be used to meet the local demand. There is no need of a large amount of cables, electricity wires, etc., right? And no transmission loss is there, right? So these are the benefits that can make this electric mini hydel power plants a most effective sustainable solution of energy sources. We can also utilize the traditional knowledge and practices also, right? TKP, and these are the environment friendly practices, and because we already know that human has been living in the world since ages, and it has been its practices or the traditional practices are in the harmony with the environment, right? So they are environment friendly. And if we see particularly the case of the healthcare, we have IUS system of healthcare, right? So we are not dependent on the chemically produced medicines, but we have those traditional medicines of Ayurveda, Unani, right? Unani and Siddha, etc. Right. So these are the things which can be utilized in order to develop sustainably, right? Biocomposting is another method through which we can generate we can reduce our dependency on the chemical fertilizers and go for the organic farming, right? Organic farming. So in this compost biocomposting, what actually happens is waste is taken, right, and this is degraded to make fertilizer, right? So this type of thing can also be done, right? Dung can be utilized, earthworms can be utilized, and this leads to reduction in the urban waste area, not only in the rural areas but in urban areas also. This can be utilized, right? Biopest control also can be utilized, because we go for spreading the pesticides in our agriculture, right? So instead of using these pesticides which are chemical in origin, we can go for biocontrol, biopest control. And what we can utilize is the neem is a tree which has a potential to distract the pests, right? And we can go for mixed cropping, alternate crops in a cycle we can go for. And we can utilize the birds, to reduce the numbers of the insect, right? So these type of methods we can always utilize in order to develop sustainability, right? It can be utilized in the farming space. Now we have seen for the conclusion, we have seen how the this practices, right, sustainable practices can be utilized in order to develop the to grow sustainably, right? So instead of economic growth, right, economic growth, we can achieve sustainable growth, right? And by by changing our practices, we can achieve sustainable growth, right? So this was all in this chapter, right? Thank you all. We have discussed this. Chapter 7 is over, right? Chapter 7 is over. Meet you again in the chapter 8. Till that point of the time, keep reading, and this PDF will be available in the description, right? Okay, then. Thank you all. Thank you for being present.